visualization or visual communication theory. This lesson explains how visual communication theory or visualization theory dominated the pictorial significance for long. The lesson further argues that there is a significant link between the downgrading of visual sense making and an aggressive linguistic view of cognition. Theory of visual communication thus needs to focus on transdisciplinary problems, and to which we as scholars, creators and students have to bring a distinctive, irreducible and highly visible experience. The distinctiveness and explanatory mode of field of imaging the lesson tends to explain would be in a deeply connected body of nonverbal knowledge with the specific cognitive and formal properties, rules and techniques needed to understand the visuals and the intricate process of imaging. So far, we have dealt with various kinds of images in the preceding lessons. In this lesson, I shall deal with a classification that ramifies and widens the scope of visual communication theory or visualization theory. To inform the students about the rhizomic nature of subject of visual communication and how its offshoots contribute to the expansion and integration of various other disciplines into it. To enlighten the learners of visual communication, which is emerging as field about the much needed repertoire of theories and research methods that are useful to one to grow as a scholar or as a professional. To identify whether the roots and shoots of visual communication are visible and observable. The character of visual communication by far is understood as multidirectional, which is transdisciplinary. Identifying the transdisciplinary roots of any field calls for a different analytical approach. Investigations into the theory and philosophy of traditional academic fields often focus on determining the roots of the field using a tree of knowledge as metaphor to complete with a trunk or central organizing theory and branches which are offshoots of the discipline. Earlier it was argued that the logic of illustrating any field is usually hierarchical, linear and fairly rigid. However, this approach is not a fit case for consideration for a field such as visual communication, where the body of the subject is highly scattered and fragmented. Having gone through the preceding lessons that I have explained you would definitely understand the extent and the complication of the subject of visual communication. They proposed a bamboo tree rather than a oak tree as an example to illustrate the hierarchical nature of the subject of visual communication. Rhizome is a horizontal creeping system lying on or under the ground, from which shoots arise or spread above and the roots descend down into ground. Nodes are sometimes connected to the main stalk and they can be separated to create new plants. Thus, rhizome is a dynamic decentered system or network. It is a structure without any controlling center of hierarchy, a kind of self-reproducing multiplicity that cannot be described as a single organization or territory. It is also generative in that the offshoots or runners become freestanding. Deleuze and Guattari used the metaphor of the rhizome to distinguish between totalizing unities and non-totalizing multiplicities. They discuss traditional arborescent thought, or what we refer to as the tree of knowledge metaphor, as universalizing and essentializing knowledge of systematic and hierarchical principles or branches that are grounded in firm foundations, roots. Rhizomes, on the other hand, are non-hierarchical systems of deterritorialized lines that connect with other lines in random, unregulated relationships. Rhizome thought deconstructs the binary logic or arborescent thought, seeking to pluralize and disseminate its roots and branches so to produce differences and multiplicities by making new connections. Importantly, the method of rhizomic analysis is productive or generative of new forms through lines of thought or intersections of ideas. As Deleuze and Guattari stated, in truth, it is not enough to say, long live the multiple, difficult as it is to rise the cry. No typographical, lexical or even syntactical cleverness is enough to make it hard. The multiple must be made. The multiple is made then through rhizomatic analysis. The subject of rhizomic analysis is conceptualized in terms of three basic kinds of lines which explain the decentered nature of the system. These lines refer to phenomena constituting or deconstructing components. As shown in figure 3, this triadic schema includes rigid lines, supply lines and lines of escape. The first rigid segmentary lines are molar lines that construct fixed and normalized identities by way of binary oppositions. Molar aggregates of a rhizomic or decentered system are components that are characterized by hierarchy, stratification and structuration. The second kind of lines, supple segmentary lines, are molecular movements away from molar rigidity, which disturb the linearity and normalcy of molar aggregates. They represent cracks in their totaling facades. Finally, there are lines of flight which form the plane of creativity. These lines are full-fledged deterritorializing movements away from molar identity, where cracks become ruptures and the subject shattered in a process of becoming multiple. As suggested earlier, Deleuze and Guattari characterized these lines of flight as fundamentally positive and creative rather than as lines of resistance or counterattack. Lines of flight runners from the most interesting part of a rhizomatic map because they indicate areas of dynamic creative activity. The generation of multiplicity differs from other forms of analysis that tend to manufacture hierarchies. Grounded theory analysis, for example, provides an approach or for developing a model that is systematically derived from data, yet it also works towards the creation of a coherent theory. As with other traditional methods, its purpose is to discover categories from which to inductively build a hierarchically structural theoretical framework with a structural cohesion. Methods such as this seek to generate a convergent rather than a divergent conception of reality. By contrast, the positive and creative theorizing of the development of a rhizomatic field as following lines of flight is based on the notion that multiple paths of escape and transformation are possible because there is no system that does not leak in all directions. Accordingly, as represented schematically in figure 4, centers of power are defined much more by what escapes them or by the zone of importance than by their zone of power. As a method for theorizing visual signification, then rhizomatic thought analyzes the various flows of theoretical activity and research associated with visual sense making. It looks for theoretical lines of escape which can be further deterritorialized, as well as for rigid or supply lines that stratify theoretical struggles and threaten their revolutionary character. As a theoretical model that maps creative flows and combats totalizing modes of thought, it seems particularly appropriate productive theorizing about visual sense making. The rhizomatic theorization of visual communication sought to map its planes of creativity by constituting its multiplicities. The major one of the development is to deterritorialize visual communication theory by decentering it. Instead of looking for philosophical roots and foundational principles, the analysis theorized the field as random and unregulated fragments. It automatically attempted to generate an uncolonized fragment, the term that constitutes a discourse of visual communication. Following several brainstorming sessions, Moriarty and Barbatsis identified the terms listed in various conceptual organizations of visual communication. The taxonomy and bibliography generated by Moriarty and Kenny, for example, produced 102 concepts and topics. The intent in this step of the analysis, according to Moriarty and Barbatsis, was to avoid overarching philosophical schemas or unifying theories. Thus, terms such as psychology, narrative aesthetics, representation and mass communication sat comfortably alongside one another in a non-hierarchical and unstructured plane. These fragments of the discourse made a long list of terms related to visual communication. Using rhizomatic approach, Moriarty and Barbatsis theorized that these terms could be organized and understood according to a decentered system of molar aggregates, molecular movements and lines of flight. In this course itself, you have studied some of these branches, especially mass communication, and would study aesthetic semiotics and narrative in the coming up lessons. The first step in the analysis involved in identifying nodes of discourse, the relevant disciplines that contribute to the emerging field of visual communication. Intrinsic in the rhizomatic model is the notion that lines flow from some point to some other point. At its base, then are centers of power or nodes that attract and support theory building. These are characterized by their segmentation of organized theory as well as unifying methods. Moriarty and Barbatsis began mapping the fields of visual communication by identifying traditional academic centers of power in terms of disciplines that inform the field of visual communication. We refer to these aggregations as molar disciplines. These molar components, as presented in table 1, were derived from a compilation of academic departments listed in a collection of typical university catalogs. Some, although not all, contribute to visual sense making. The extent of the contribution is determined by a later step in the analysis. Moving on further is analysis that identified the molecular components or fields of study which contribute to the theorizing of visual communication. There are two types of molecular units: offshoots of the traditional discipline and professional fields. Unfixed and deterritorialized fields of study such as education and mass communication, which are professionally oriented, as well as offshoot areas such as cultural studies and information systems, mix and match pieces that have disciplinary roots from other areas, but have no unifying theory of methodologies of their own. In postmodern fashion, they reflect movements away from the molar rigidities and disturb the traditional linearity and rigid hierarchical model of knowledge with professional orientation and performance dimensions that often cross disciplinary lines. This list is not conclusive because movement is continuous and the fields may still be defining themselves. Visual communication could be located in the offshoot list, although the purpose of this chapter is to define its focus and referent point in order to substantiate such a conclusion. Table 2 represents the combined list of professional fields and their focus, as well as the offshoot fields and their referent points in terms of related disciplines and fields. These supple segmentary lines of visual sense making are presented in table 2. After identifying traditional molar disciplines and emerging molecular fields, the next step was to relate these categories of study to visual communication to identify points of intersection where the visual communication theory and research seem to be emerging by comparing these components with a taxonomy of visual communication developed as an outline for a visual communication bibliography by Moriarty and Kenny and published in the Journal of Visual Literacy. Table 3 represents the disciplines and fields identified as referent points for articles under the key headings from the taxonomy. By counting the number of referent points represented by these articles, this analysis determined which of the disciplines and fields seem to be contributing the most conceptual thought to the development of visual communication. To further analyze table 3, we looked at the dominant referent points in terms of the frequency of mention in the coding schema used to match the visual communication taxonomy with the molar disciplines and molecular fields in terms of the current visual communication literature. These are the nodes that act as starting points, lines of movement. Clearly, the professional areas and their focus on practice and performance drive to the development of thought in the field of visual communication. Beyond professional areas, however, there are 4 areas that are making equivalent contributions. Art is the highest, followed closely by communication, psychology and the combined topic of critical and cultural studies. Next come visual communication theory and education. The other areas from the taxonomy, history, law and the physical sciences are presently on the margins of the visual communication field. The same formation was then used to begin mapping the field of visual communication in terms of its referent points and intersections. Figure 5 displays the molar and molecular components of visual communication as well as the emerging lines of flight that are beginning to define the field of visual communication. The lines of flight represent the areas of visual communication study lying on the plane of creativity between disciplines and the fields contributing to the development of visual communication as a field. In some cases, they represent intersections, in other cases, they represent points of departure. They are the components that deconstruct or leak from the totalizing efforts of the more traditional disciplines and fields. This map demonstrates, in other words, the interconnectedness of the ideas that are evolving and becoming the field of visual communication. The final part of the analysis identified the lines of flight in our theorizing of visual communication. These components characterized as ruptures or full-fledged deterritorializing movements away from molar identities. Comprising new insights and possibilities as well as old notions and dead ends, lines of flights are the most valuable visible signs of temporality and multiplicity in a dynamic rhizomatic system. In some cases, they are the non-territorialized fragments from the initial list of the terms. In most cases, however, they are the visual offshoots of the dominant referent point. Visual communication theory's plane of creativity and the primary nodes where various interests seem to cluster are presented below. Visual intelligence, cognition, perception, visual literacy, graphic, design or aesthetics, visualization, creativity, visual culture, visual rhetoric, visual semiotics, professional performance, photography, film, video, internet, mass media, advertising, PR. Such a list highlights the primary components of emerging visual communication field. It is not, however, conclusive. Adjacent areas, for example, can be found in such fields as architecture, landscape architecture, archaeology, choreography and costume design, among others. Because this is a dynamic system, some areas will become more central and dominant and others may shrink and even die. This chapter is a response to Stafford's invitation to begin the imaging of the field of visual communication. The metaphor that makes it possible to visualize the emerging field is a rhizome because it provides a method that is organic, dynamic and decentered in order to identify the referent points, find the lines of flight and plots the intersection of developing knowledge. The plane of creativity constituted by the lines of flight in figure 5 is an area of difference that offers an opportunity to study visual sense making in its own terms. The multiplicity generated in lines of flight and their intersections is productive and creative. It does not operate in traditional linear or language centered reality. Rather, it displays in the most exciting terms a way of theorizing visual communication outside and beyond disciplinary boxes, an approach that is both organic and dynamic. Issues to consider include how we apprehend the experience of visual communication with language that collapses and flattens the phenomenon in much the same manner as a cartographic projection. In familiar terms, the language map is simply not the pictorial territory. Language can be pushed. However, narrative, analogy, metaphor and poetic rhythms of harmony, counterpart, variation and accent all provide forms of language use that more closely resembles the nonlinear experience it attempts to describe. A new vocabulary of imaging and seeing, one of the shower and showy, for example, can be developed and used to describe the communicating partners in visual experience. Writing in a style of thick description can be encouraged in our portrayal of the visual encounters we observe, and Moriarty and Barbatsis are able to use the language in these and other ways that more authentically capture a visual sense making experience. The plane of creativity generated by this rhizomatic analysis of visual communication theory and research could well be a guide map for this transdisciplinary territory. Although the term roof would be appropriately used here to avoid confusion between the concept of root in a rhizome and structure and the concept of a central node is in an arborescent structure, Moriarty and Barbatsis are using the term referent point. Deleuze and Guattari pointed out the example that arborescent structures have rhizome lines and rhizomes have points of arborescence that portend the emergence of hierarchy. Accordingly, the distinction between arborescent and rhizomatic multiplicity is not a rigid opposition. The lesson is very crucial to the student of visual communication. After dealing with a variety of areas of visual communication against the background of theories and models of mass communication, I have returned to the theory of visualization or visual communication theory. The lesson discussed above offers how the scholars in the field have attempted to explain the visual communication both as a theory and as a subject of research. Several approaches have come up to explain the theory of visual communication. From Deleuze and Guattari via Best and Kellner to Moriarty and Barbatsis have made attempts to interpret the phenomenon of visual communication using rhizome as a model, contrary to the earlier model of oak tree model. In this lesson, Moriarty and Barbatsis have offered full explanation to explain the characterization of visual communication or visualization theory. Most prominently, the lesson explained as a collective phenomenon with no limits for its territory, cutting at the intersection of several prominent domains of knowledge that combine both profession and academic branches. In the process, Moriarty and Barbatsis have tried to offer a mapping of visual communication using intersections of various subjects. The study of theory of visual communication or visualization theory at this juncture offers a holistic view of the subject of visual communication. It also justifies why I have so far brought in various cultural areas into the present study before and after this.